Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I wanted to do the video on the back patio today. It is beautiful outside. It was kind of cloudy and rainy earlier. I'm actually drying off my patio couch chair cushions because I left them out in the rainstorm last night. So they're drying, and I was gonna do it out there, but my neighbor is outside with her dog, and she's enjoying the backyard and the patio too, so I was like, we'll just stay in here today and film. I have actually, three meditations that I wanna read to you. I read one of them yesterday, and if you watched yesterday's video, then you know that I grabbed the wrong book. And then one of them I read today, and then the other one is from today, and I haven't read it yet. So, we're gonna go through all three of these meditations, and I'm gonna say a little bit about each one. And I'm gonna tell some personal stories on here again next week. I haven't done that in a while. I've been kind of like jotting down some things that I wanna talk about. If you don't know, I've been working on a book for a while now, and I've been kind of taking a long break from working on it. But just the other day, I sat down and I looked through my outline of the stories that I have in there and the ones that I'm including, because I've revamped the whole book. It's kind of a memoir of my childhood. And so there's a lot of stories that I actually want to tell that are not going to be in the book, because I don't want them to be repeats, or that would be boring, right? So anyway, I'm going to start telling some of those on here about things I've learned in my life, and they're not just all stories from my childhood, they're stories from my, adulthood as well. But anyway, today we are going to read from Linda Picone's The Daily Book of Positive Quotations. I'm getting so many messages from people that are saying that they actually have these books as well, and they read along with me, which I think is fantastic. The other thing I would suggest to you is to read them in the morning, and then, talk about them or think about them with me as you watch my video, and, maybe put your comments in the videos below. I think all of these books are listed in my Amazon store below, but you can get them at any kind of thrift store, Barnes & Noble, wherever you go, Amazon. You don't have to buy them from there. I just list them there so you guys know which book is which. So, and I actually got the Daily Book of Positive Quotations from Alex's friend as a wedding gift. But Tanya bought it when we were at Meijer one night. So I know that you can get it at the Meijer and probably Walmart and places like that. Okay, July 11th, room at the top. There is always room at the top. Daniel Webster. In a zero-sum game, no one can win without someone else suffering a corresponding loss. Fortunately, life is not a zero-sum game, though there are some who seem to believe that it is. We don't have to push others aside to be winners, and we don't have to enjoy our successes alone. In fact, sharing our successes with others can make them much more meaningful and pleasurable. I want to succeed and to include others with me as I do. Okay, so I kind of heard something other than what I think this meditation is really about, but I want to share with you a very important lesson that I learned, and I learned it really, really late in life too. So, my husband and I, we have a website. He runs it now. It's all electronic dance music. And, but back in the day, we like interviewed a lot of different celebrities and, like reality stars and stuff like that. So anyway, one time we were interviewing Kelly Cutrone, and Kelly Cutrone was on The Hills, and she was also on The City, on MTV, and then she had her own reality show called Kel on Earth. She has also written a book, it's a self-help book, but she said it's not a self-help book, and it's called If You Have to Cry, Go Outside. It is fantastic. It is one of my favorite self-help, motivational books, whatever you want to call it, that I've ever read, and it talks a lot in there about finding out who you truly are and surrounding yourself with a group of people that really get you. And so anyway, we were interviewing her, and we were talking to her on the phone, and she's just a really cool woman. If you've never seen her, go read about her. She owns People's Revolution, which is one of the largest, if not the largest, fashion PR company in the world, which she built literally from the ground up. In her book, she talks about how she was like at 10 years old doing lemonade stands and making more money than anybody in the neighborhood. And so it's fantastic, right? But she's always just sought her passion. And before she ever knew that she wanted to get into fashion or PR or anything like that, she knew she wanted to be in New York City, and that's really a lot of what her book is about. But I remember talking to her on the phone, and one of the things that we said to her was, what do you do when somebody like steals an idea of yours, right? And she said, I just give it to them. She was like, I'm not going to fight somebody for it. If they want to steal my idea, let them have it. She was like, because if they have to steal it, what it says is if they don't have a lot of their own creative ideas, she's like, I have like literally 1,000 more. She was like, so I'll just do something else. Let them take it. It's just not that big of a deal, right? And it kind of really redefined competition for me and made me look at competition competition in an entirely different way. And, you know, after that, I started having a lot of conversations with people. And I would ask, I've always been somebody that, like, since I've been sober and, you know, really been goal-oriented, because I wasn't before I got sober. But I've always been somebody that if I meet somebody that's at the top of what they do, or it seems as if they're at the top of what they do, or they really enjoy what they do, you know, I ask them, like, how did you get there? Like, what did you do to get to where you're at? Or what did you do to get to this point where you really enjoy your career or your passion or whatever it is, right? Whether that's an athletic sport or as a musician, a DJ, things like that. And, you know, it's interesting that people, they are similar in their answers, right? That they always just are like, I chase what and I want to do, and then I also realize that no one is my competition. And I remember the first time that I had this conversation with somebody, and I actually think it was a DJ, and I said, what do you mean nobody's your competition? And he was like, it was a DJ. He was like, nobody's my competition. He was like, I'm my own best competition. Like, I have to constantly raise my bar for myself, you know. And it's interesting, I think, on YouTube, because you have this kind of idea of, oh, if somebody gets more views than you, or if somebody, you know, whatever. But, like, I don't really have that mindset. I just don't, you know. And I think that, like, every writer out there does something different. You can't compare two authors because each work is so completely different. You can't compare really two movies to each other, you know, unless you're comparing like a sequel to the original or something like that, or, you know, like Stranger Things, third season to Stranger Things first season, but that is still of somebody's same work. So they're their own best competition, if that makes sense. So I don't get bogged down with that anymore the way that I used to, you know? And there have been moments in my life where I've been jealous and envious of others. There's been many, many, many moments, just, you know, even in the last year, and I have really had to work hard on that. But when I break through that and I look at that as an opportunity for growth, what I really find, okay, is that jealousy and envy is about my own, like, why would I be jealous or envious of somebody else if I'm doing my own best work, and maybe their journey has allowed them to have other things right now that are not in my life, you know? And so really they're worthless emotions, absolutely worthless emotions. Today, when I start finding myself feeling that way, I say to myself, okay, Peter, what do you need to do to be the best version of yourself? What do you need to, like, pump yourself up, you know? And I think, you know, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes we get dismayed by, you know, other people around us and getting opportunities that we don't have. And this is not exclusive to YouTube, okay? So, I mean, I've been on YouTube less than 3 years, well, with my BookTube channel, 3 years. But, I mean, I had 44 years of my life before that where I had a lot of these feelings of competition, you know? Even growing up, you know, I played competitive tennis growing up. And I can remember there was like, my dad would say to me, some days you lose and some days you win. And when you lose, it's an opportunity for growth. You know, well, he didn't say those exact words, but he'd say it's it's a chance for you to, like, look and see your best version. My sponsor, she always says to me, opportunities for growth. But, you know, I look back at that and I think to myself, you know, if you think about any time, if you played sports, right, that you ever played against a different team, did you learn more if you lost, or did you learn more if you won, right? And I say this in a lot of my videos. I've learned more in my life from the mistakes that I've made than the successes that I've had. You know, I can look at the successes in my life and I can say this worked or that worked, but it's not huge lessons. Like, maybe it's, I should have tried something earlier, or I should have been more, you know, structured in what I was doing. But typically, when I lose or when I make mistakes is when I learn the most. Now, I don't want to always be on a losing streak. None of us do. But that is what helps us become stronger people, I think, you know, is by taking a look at evaluating and doing inventory in our lives and those areas and saying, okay, this is where I need to grow within myself, not comparing myself to somebody else, okay, because my journey is completely different than theirs. And once I was able to, like, really realize that, which for me, my moment was my 20-year high school reunion, was when I went there and, you know, I realized that, like, and all these people were so interested in what I was doing, which was just not a lot at that time, you know, and it was interesting that how people treated me, and the people were so nice and all this kind of stuff, you know. It was complete opposite. I mean, I got my high school, Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion. I got what I wanted out of that, and I got a lot of friends out of that as well, too, and, you know, and a lot of amends making on both sides, and it was awesome, you know. But what I realized was, this idea of me comparing my life to somebody that, you know, has $1 million home, and why am I not where they're at, or what, you know, that's all so pointless, because my journey is so different than somebody else's. And whenever you're looking at somebody else's life, somebody else always has it better and somebody else always has it worse, you know. And typically millions of people have it a lot worse than I do. So that's where gratitude comes into play too. competition, unless I'm looking at being the best version of myself and raising my bar within myself, is totally, totally pointless. So I don't even play into that today. Okay, so anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you think about that meditation. And then I'm going to read Journey to the Heart, Melody Beatty's, from yesterday, Trust the Timing of Your Lessons. And I really like this meditation. This was the one that I was actually going to read on here yesterday, but the book was in the kitchen. Trust the timing of your lessons. Too often, our first inclination when we learn a lesson, gain a new insight, have an awareness, or glimpse a new truth is to judge and criticize ourselves for not seeing it sooner. See what I just said? Not knowing it before, or being in denial too long. That's not necessary. It's not appropriate. We're not at fault because we didn't have this awareness or understand this lesson until now. We don't need to see the truth one moment before we see it. Judging ourselves for not knowing sooner can close us off to what life has to teach us now. We're here to learn our lessons, discover our truths, have our adventures. Let yourself have your experiences. Allow yourself to learn what you learn when you learn it. Don't judge yourself for not learning sooner. Be happy, grateful, and excited when your lesson arrives. Trust your voice, that quiet inner voice, when it speaks to you of truth. Be grateful you can hear it. Do what it tells you to do. Trust the timing of your heart. And the reason I really liked that meditation and why I wanted to read it yesterday was because I have had so many lessons in my life that are actually really simple, you know? And I beat myself up for it because I look at it and I think, you know, I should have known this a lot sooner. Like, I should have seen this coming. Or, you know, this is, especially when it's a lesson that repeats itself over and over and over again. And I'm very much a believer that lessons are repeated until they are learned. And so, if it's a lesson that's been repeated over and over and over again, it's like, why did I not learn this the first time? Why did I learn this the 50th time? I don't know. Maybe that's what it took for me. You know, maybe that's my journey. Maybe I need to stop beating myself up for it and be thankful and grateful that the fact that the lesson finally came, you know? And then really practicing the action of the lesson and not beating myself up that I didn't get it sooner. What's the point, you know? My old sponsor used to say to me all the time, you beat yourself up so much, you know, for over spilt milk. There's nothing you can do about it. You know, what are you going to do about it now? That's the question. You know, who are you today? Like, who do you want to be today? You know, and I think, like, when the lessons present themselves to me and I learn from them and I am able to grow as a person, you know, and a human being, that I should be so thankful for that and grateful for that. Because there's probably a lot of lessons out there that I haven't learned yet, you know, that are continuing to repeat themselves to me. And I'm like, you know, I'm just kind of, I don't see it. I choose not to see it, you know, and maybe hopefully one day I will. Okay, and then July 11th, Clear the Path to Your Heart. Now, I have not read this one yet, but I liked how it started. I watched Old Faithful from my window. The geyser gurgled and spewed a low layer of steam. Then, true to its name, Old Faithful erupted and sprayed thousands of gallons of steaming water into the air right on time. A full range of gurgling emotions, reactions, and responses to Lifeline, the pathway to the heart. We need to feel them all: anger, hurt, sadness, irritations, in order to feel joy. To experience life in all its wonders, we must embrace all of these feelings. We need to experience the little angers as well as the big hurts, the painful wounds that life sometimes brings. To insist that we will only feel pleasant emotions means we're blocking the pathway to the heart. We're ignoring all the other gurgling emotions that need to be felt. All our emotions are important. All need to be recognized. The energy of each needs to be acknowledged and released. This clears the way for love. All the emotions that precede love clear the heart so it's pure and free to feel joy. Trust your emotions, all of them. You're not off the path. They lead to the path you're seeking. They are the journey to the heart. Let them flow freely, and sure as Old Faithful, your heart will come gleaming, shining through. I really like that. I have said this on here since the very beginning, and I'm such a believer in this, that life is about the bittersweet. You know, it's very much the yin and the yang. Like, you cannot appreciate the glorious, joyful amazement of life with that even grammatically makes sense. But, you know, you can't appreciate that without the tragedies of life as well. And I think that it's really sad that we have to live through all of that. But I think that once you can accept that and appreciate that, then it's like, you know what? I'm not going to beat myself up for all of these sad things that I kind of get stuck in. And I think that we have to get stuck in that sometimes. You know, sometimes for me, I'm like almost speaking to myself today. I woke up today and I was kind of feeling a little bit stuck. And this is almost kind of like this meditation needed to happen for me, you know? I was like, I woke up this morning and I was just kind of like not feeling it. And I felt kind of stuck. And I went and got coffee. And I've been like trying to get back on my diet program, but I'm struggling so hard. And I wanted to do this Frappuccino review, which I did on my review channel. And I was like, you know what, forget it. I'm just gonna do the review and just enjoy today, you know? And I did, and it was like so funny because like then I started listening to a lot of music that I used to listen to. I put on this tie-dyed shirt that I just bought off of Amazon, and I was listening to the Grateful Dead, which I loved back in the day. And it was like this passion was ignited in me, you know? And I just kind of like went with the flow, and I stopped fighting things. And I think that's sometimes it, you know? We're gonna feel feelings or moments of being stuck. As you are watching this, many of you out there probably are like, yeah, I feel stuck in my life right now. Well, this too shall pass. There will be a moment that you don't feel stuck anymore. When you're in that moment, when you are laughing as hard as you can possibly laugh with your best friend, and you are enjoying the greatest dinner that you've ever had, or the best date with your partner or somebody new, or you know, you're reading the best book you've ever read, or last night I was laughing my butt off to reading or to listening to the podcast, My Favorite Murder. You know, when you're having that moment of just pure, undeniable joy, look back on the moment that you felt stuck. And remember that. Because if it wasn't for that moment of being stuck, that moment of sadness, that moment of being down, and I'm not talking about clinical issues, I'm talking about regular emotions like being sad, being angry. If it wasn't for those emotions, you wouldn't have that true feeling of joy. Because none of us can feel 100% joyful all the time. Or we wouldn't know that it was truly joy, would we? Like, we have to have other moments to compare it to. So anyway, I do believe that. I believe that life is the bitter and the sweet. And so anyway, let me know what you think about those meditations below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.